is dead at 81. I'm Tyrone Bowman. This is Tyrone Bowman Tonight. According to the Washington Post, Hossein Vaziri, wrestling's villainous Iron Sheik is dead. The Iranian born athlete became one of the most reviled and yet most popular personalities in the sport during the 1970s and 1980s. As I begin reading this article, my condolences go out to his entire family. And I assure you that any mistake that I make pronouncing certain names is simply because I'm not familiar with the terms, but I will do my best. Now, on with the story here respectfully. Quote Hossein Vaziri, an Iranian born grappler who played the American hating Iron Sheik in televised wrestling matches of the 1970s and 1980s, emerging as one of the most popular villains in the show business sport, died June 7 at his home in Fayetteville, Georgia. He was 80 years of age, according to his biographer Keith Elliott Greenberg. Page Machen, a close family friend, confirmed his death. The cause was not immediately available. A one-time bodyguard for the Shah of Iran, Mr. Vaziri became an assistant coach for the U.S. Olympic Greco-Roman wrestling team, accompanied the American athletes to the 1972 Games in Munich and the 1976 Games in Montreal. As a young man, he had won gold and silver medals in the Association of American Universities Greco-Roman National Championships. But he found its niche in entertainment style wrestling as the ultimate heel, with his pointy mustache, shaved head, kayafi, and curled toe boots. The great Hussein Arab, pronounced Arab, his character name in the late 1970s, took off at a moment when Middle Eastern strife was increasingly affecting U.S. affairs with the Arab oil embargo, the Iranian Palestinian conflict, and the Iranian Revolution and hostage crisis. Eventually settling on the name the Iron Sheik, Mr. Vaziri barked insult into broken English, swung Parisian golf clubs, and played to Middle Eastern stereotypes. At the peak of his fame, he partnered with Nikolai Volkov, the Russified ring name of Croatian-born Josip Perzufic. Mr. Vaziri, playing off of Volkov's Soviet national shtick, riled wrestling fans especially when they won the tag team title at WrestleMania, or tag team championship titles at WrestleMania and WrestleMania 1 in 1985. Russian number one, Iran number one. The Sheik would scream after Volkov sang the Soviet national anthem. As the crowd booed and threw garbage, the Sheik would spit at the mention of USA. He embraced being a heel, wrestler, and actor, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson said in The Sheik, a 2014 documentary film about Mr. Vaziri. It takes a certain kind of DNA and a certain kind of guy who embraces being a bad guy to embrace the fact that you're going to go out there, you're going to get hated, and you're going to get booed. Close quote. Mr. Vaziri's Iron Sheik was a central character in the growth of Vince McMahon Jr.'s World Wrestling Entertainment, or WWE empire. His battles with Bob Backlund, a future WWE Hall of Famer, culminated in the Sheik's Heavyweight Championship in 1983, shortly after Mr. Vaziri faced McMahon's hand-picked star, who was to be the All-American face of what then was the World Wrestling Federation, Hulk Hogan. On June 23, 1984, at Madison Square Garden in Manhattan, Hogan, wearing a shirt that boasted American made, escaped the Sheik's signature back-bending chin hold, the camel clutch. Hogan pinned him, and the Hulkamania era began. The Iron Sheik graciously passed the torch to me, Hogan said in The Sheik, because once the Iron Sheik put me over, the Hulkamania thing was unstoppable. Mr. Missouri indulged many other in the ring feuds, most notably with Sergeant Slaughter, the non the grapple of Army fatigue wearing wrestler Robert Rumis. McMahon briefly kicked Mr. Missouri out for drugs use and for breaking character. In 1987, New Jersey state troopers arrested him and a wrestling rival, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, after stopping them on the Garden State Parkway and finding cocaine and marijuana in the car. The wrestlers who were en route to a match were soon released and back at it and made it to the event on time. The incident helped lift the veil on what was still, at that time, wrestling's secret. The ring feuds were largely invented for entertainment purposes. McMahon was reportedly furious about the arrest and the damage it did to his business model. After bouncing around independent circuits, Mr. Vaziri returned to the ring. He adopted the name Colonel Mustafa during the 1991 Persian Gulf War and teamed with Sergeant Slaughter, who portrayed an American turncoat. The gimmick didn't last beyond the war, and Mr. Vaziri soon went back to the independent circuit while continuing to appear at special events in the 2010s. Hussein Kashu Vaziri, whose father was a pistachio farmer and part-time wrestler, was born near Tehran on September 9, 1942. He became obsessed with wrestling after watching the success of Iranian-born Olympic gold medalist. Now, this is a hard name to pronounce, so I've got to spell it. Gholamreza. I'm going to try. Gholamreza Takiti. After Army service, Mr. Vaziri became a technician for state television and served as a bodyguard for Shah Muhammad Reza Pahlavi. Takiti's mysterious death in 1968 officially ruled a suicide, but rumored to have happened at the hands of the Shah's secret police because of the wrestler's anti-regime activism spurred Mr. Vaziri to settle in the United States. He was so popular in Iran, and Mr. Vaziri told Yahoo Sports he was like the Michael Jordan. Everyone loved him, and I was number two. I thought if they got him, they're going to probably go to get me too. I knew I had to leave. What a life he lived. He eventually joined up with promoter Vern Gagne's Minnesota's based All-American Wrestling Association. Mr. Vaziri's early duties included assembling and packing up the ring, driving the truck to the next venue, and refereeing the matches. Mr. Vaziri married Carly Peterson in 1976 and had 3 daughters, all of whom he trained in Greco-Roman wrestling. In 2003, or in 2023, his eldest daughter Marissa was strangled, and her boyfriend Charles Warren Reynolds went to prison for her murder. And survivors include his wife, his daughters. Mr. Vaziri suffered from health issues related to his years of wrestling. He signed autographs and borrowed money to subsidize his continuing drug habit, according to interviews he gave in the Sheik. A popular guest on Howard Stern's radio show, Mr. Vaziri, known as the Iron Sheik, was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2005. I was born in Iran, but I may be in Madison Square Garden, he told the Middle East-focused arts and culture publication, Bowman. For me, America was good. I'm Tyrone Bowman. Never surrender. Never